Hi, this is Bob Brown. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is recorded on Tuesday, December 20th, 2016. And today we're going to wade into an unusual topic, but I couldn't resist it, just to be straight up. And this is the proposed cover of the Economist magazine for the year 2017. And there's been a lot of discussion on the internet, and from the most wildest conspiracy theories known to humankind down to its, to total dismissal of the cover. And I've never met a conspiracy theory I didn't like, so I'm going to plunge into this area here, and we're going to look at this. Now, if you do stock trading, you may be aware of the Japanese candlestick method, and I want to do a series on that, on the predictive capability of the Japanese candlestick system. Is it real? Is it imaginary? There's all kinds of theories on that. It is a form of precognition or of trying to read the future. So on the cover here, if this is the cover that they release, and I have to go I haven't read the article yet, so I don't know what this all means. And I saw some discussion on this, and some of them I couldn't even watch because it was so tinged with racism and hatred. I don't even know I don't even know how these people get up and go to work in the morning. But let's look at it from a standpoint of fortune telling, because I would assume that this is their marketing ploy to get you to buy the magazine. That we're a fortune teller, and they're using the tarot cards. The tarot cards are a Western part of the Western mystery traditions of the occult, or occultare, of the hidden knowledge systems of the West. Now, on these aspects of precognition, I've done some studies and experiments, and of course the evidence is pretty much against precognition. But the thing with precognition and ESP is there always seems to be unexplained phenomena that have yet been buttoned down. Is fortune telling real? Well, I don't know. In the age of the internet, with people's psyches hooked into the internet, anything's possible now. So that's why these things take on lives of their own, and they run wild, and people have all kinds of theories and conspiracy theories. And there's a whole section on the other Economist magazine covers. They have a cottage industry now of making these controversial covers, and then the internet explodes trying to decipher that somehow the New World Order is somehow sending us subliminal messages. But I'm just going to kind of go through this, and we'll try to determine what, if anything, they're trying to tell us. It may just be a great marketing ploy, which is probably what it is. The first card is a tower, and from what I know of the tower card, this is a card that basically says there's going to be strife and conflict. Now, I'm not a specialist in tarot. And anyone who's watching this and knows tarot will say, "Oh my God, who is this fool?" But just looking at this, the tower here it's the symbolism that they're using is kind of interesting. If I can zoom in here. Sorry. Okay, so we see in the tower symbol, we see an exploding tower. And I think the tower has a lot to do with the Trump Tower. We see on the one side the sickle and hammer, symbol of communism, of the Soviet Union. And the other side we see what appears to be more of a Roman Catholic form of the crucifix. This is Jesus crucified on the cross. I myself am an Episcopalian Protestant Christian, so the crosses that we usually have don't have Jesus on the cross. We just have the empty cross symbolizing the resurrection. But it is interesting that there seems that they're trying to say there's some kind of conjunction or conflict coming between a socialist system and Christianity. Now, does this mean there's an alliance forming between these two groups? I don't know. I don't know what they're saying here. This looks like the Martin Luther's when he nails the his protests on the door. This looks like something from Martin Luther. So in between communism and what I would interpret, and this is just James Joyce stream of consciousness interpretation, is Roman Catholicism, that in between we have this Martin Luther or Lutheran-esque complaint being lodged. Is being lodged against both these systems? I don't know. It seems to be. This seems to be the critical thing. We see the lightning. You know, this is this divine judgment. Is it destruction? So does this mean the Soviet Union and Christianity are being destroyed? Does this mean that Russia is going to be attacked? I don't know. Does this mean that Christianity is under attack? Well, Christianity is under attack. In the Middle East, Christianity that's existed in many parts of the Middle East, especially Iraq and Syria, that existed there for 2,000 years, has almost been completely exterminated. So I'm not sure what the Economist is telling us here, but they're saying that these are the forces. And so the forces I see on the tower is that there's some type of divine historical event going to happen. We have, on one side, we have communism. On the other side, we have Christianity. We see more boulders are falling towards the communists versus smaller towards Christianity. Does this symbolize radicalized Islam? I don't know. Does this mean that there's a way out? I don't know. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm just giving you my thoughts, and I'll probably have to make several videos on this alone. But the Economist opened the door for an area that I've been studying, so I thought, well, I'll just step on through. The next card is Judgment, and so the Judgment card, it has, of course, President-elect at this time, Donald Trump. The electors have voted him in, so he is going to be the 45th President of the United States. It's kind of interesting they chose this card because if we go over here and look at Wikipedia, the Judgment card, the scene is modeled after the Christian resurrection before the Last Judgment. An angel, possibly Gabriel, is depicted blowing a great trumpet from which hangs a white flag bearing a red cross. A group of humans, man, woman, and child, of grayish complexion, stand spread, looking up at the angel in awe. The people are apparently emerging from crypts or graves. There are huge mountains or tidal waves in the background. These may be a reference to the sea giving up its dead on the day of judgment, as described in the book of Revelation. So it's interesting that the Economist has chosen this card, which is, I believe it's card 20. This is almost a Templar cross. I'm a Knights Templar in the Masonic orders. It's similar to a Templar cross, but not quite. The trumpet, the resurrection of the dead, the life of the world to come as we know it as Christians. So they chose that card. It's kind of interesting that they would choose that card. Now, what are they saying? Here's Donald Trump. He's dressed in a suit. He's got the symbol of authority. You know, this is almost like a monarch. He's got the scepter and the seal in his hand, almost like Queen Elizabeth have. He sits on a throne of the flag, and he sits in judgment. So if you contrast this with what Wikipedia says, it's kind of interesting. I mean, are they saying there's a resurrection of Christianity? We had a Christian symbol in the first card. I don't know. So this is interesting. So right here we have communism, the destruction of the tower, you know, calamity is coming. This is what the fortune tellers would probably tell you. And then, of course, we have Martin Luther's, his protest on the door, Christian. Next card is Judgment, the tower and judgment, which is a symbol of resurrection. So I don't know what to make of this. Now, people say, well, what does any of this have to do with business science? Well, this is interesting because many people are going to look at this and they're going to see into it what they want to see. And that can affect a lot of way how people make decisions. So if you have any thoughts on this, I'm going to go through the rest of this. It's going to take time, and I don't want to make these videos too long, but it's interesting what we see on this. Now, also with tarot, so there are different So how the fortune teller lays out the tarot cards when they read your fortune. These spreads have different capabilities. So there are, this one is called the comic strip storyboard spread. Here's the Celtic cross spread. So the layout itself is indicative of what they're trying to do. So we might be having a hidden Easter egg here, that this is a comic book story, so that the Economist may be saying, hey, we're just having some fun with you guys. But this is the world of the Easter egg now. So like I've said in other videos, we're in the post-factual world, we're in the world of Easter eggs, we're in the hidden meanings. You have to glean it out, you have to ferret the meaning out. It's very interesting. So I don't know, and maybe someone who could, I really don't have time to do this research on this, but the spread of the cards can mean, can have different capabilities. And there's more on tarot than you could ever imagine. You know, this just goes on forever. So what does it mean? I don't know. I don't know what the Economist is doing. I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's there are videos here that, you know, that range, you know, that are just, you know, crazy type videos. Some are interesting, some are intriguing. But from a business standpoint, look at the first two cards, Tower and Judgment. The Tower, I think, has to be a play on Trump Tower, the Trump Tower in New York. And it seems that Trump is going to be facing three fronts. Now, Donald Trump himself is a Presbyterian. You know, I assume he's a lukewarm Presbyterian. I don't know. But he's a Presbyterian, so he's a Protestant. He may be caught between these rival forces. Why Islam is not part of that, I don't know. But there's something the Economist is saying on this. The judgment is Donald Trump is going to cast a lot of judgment. I think in that area, for a business standpoint, that there is going to be a lot of capability for American companies to make money off security, specifically in the attack on ISIS. The ISIS or ISIL threat, my procrastination, my tarot throw at you guys is that he will team up with Putin and that they will go after ISIS together and that ISIS as we know it will be eradicated. It's going to be difficult, but they will eradicate it. I have to get my master's thesis on here where I went through this, and let it be known that ISIS and terrorism and extremism is often triggered by events in the past. And one event in the past happened during the first Gulf War that might have been one of those trigger points that people don't forget because people have long memories, is what's called the Highway of Death. When Saddam's forces were fleeing Kuwait, the coalition forces mercilessly bombed that entire retreating army to the point that even the people bombing them were pretty much horrified. And I pointed out that that event is a flashpoint that maybe ISIS rallied people around, saying, remember when the coalition forces did this to us? Before they were ISIS, when they were still part of Saddam's regime. So this is a very interesting thing. We're in a different world now. We're in a world of the internet, of people's belief systems commingling, of what I like to call post-factual, even post-scientific thought. So things like what the Economists are doing are very fascinating, and they are potent because they will affect people. This cover, this 2017 cover, is what they put it out. It will have a lot of effect, and people will be discussing it. I'm discussing it about what it can mean. And so this has been the first two cards of the 8 spread that the Economist is putting out. There's the World, the Hermit, Death, the Magician, Wheel of Fortune, and the Star. Of course, real quick, we have 3D printing for the Magician. 3D printing, of course, they can print 3D guns. So this is interesting, they have 3D printing here. But we'll cover this in other videos. But it is interesting. It's a strange phenomena that we're observing here, that we're seeing this kind of a mixture of business, and belief systems. This has been Bob Brown. As always, keep studying.